team, proud of our guys. I thought we had a outstanding week of practice. Really just trying to focus on energy and effort. I think we haven't been as good that way for long periods of games, and it's cost us, but I thought our guys were really keyed up, wanted to play against a very good team today in Arkansas, and certainly the last minute of the game where we had a little press and stole the ball, and then the 1-3-1 bothered them late in the game a little bit, and our guys made plays. We got it to even up, and then Rod was tremendous in the overtime. It was really the difference in the game for us.
Coach, obviously there might be some criticism for the number of close games that you've had against teams that people thought you'd have. But is the experience of playing those close games give you some composure?
Yeah, it's helped us a little bit. Obviously, we've beaten Arkansas and LSU in close games. We're still a team that's trying to kind of figure some things out identity-wise. For whatever reason, our guys seem to rise to the occasion in some of these games and aren't as competitive as we need to be, and we don't have enough offensive confidence to get away from some of the teams that we maybe have some physical attributes that are better. Physically we can be better some teams, but shooting the ball is a problem for us sometimes. We can get careless and turn it over, and so we allow teams to stay in games, and then if they make some threes late, which is what some teams have done against us, we have problems. Tonight we obviously had a huge stretch at the beginning of the second half where we were really poor offensively, and these droughts are when teams get away from us. Arkansas got away from us, but then thankfully our defense picked back up, and I thought our defense in the last 6 minutes of the game and then overtime was really good. And to be honest with you, I thought we should have had a bigger lead. I thought we outplayed them in the first half, and really should have had about an 8 or 10 point lead.
What flipped the switch for Ron down the stretch of the game?
Well, I don't know. He and I had a heart-to-heart this week just about that. He's got to play better, and it's hard. I think it's a lot harder on him than what everybody realizes in terms of, KJ and he were very tight, and he's close with other guys on the team, but it's not the same. And obviously he's here by himself now with some of his classmates have left. I think Coach Grant leaving has had a bigger impact on Rod than some, just because Coach Grant's the guy that really believed in him and gave him the opportunity. And I just think, he's had a child. I just think there's a lot of little things that can take away from your focus. And he's played okay. He's played fine, but he hasn't played with a big heart and big spirit. And we just talked about it this week. And I think he's tried to practice better. He's not an outgoing guy, so it's not natural for him to be. He's the most humble guy. Like after everybody, we're coming into huddles and everybody's, patting him on the back, and he doesn't say a word. I mean, we go upstairs and we win, and everybody's, patting him on the back and talking to him and woofing him up a little bit. And he really just kind of just hangs out. I mean, he doesn't get too high about playing great, and sometimes that's a detriment because our other guys need to feed off of he and DeMarcus both, and they're both very low-key people. They're just very low-key guys, and they just kind of do their thing. They're pretty flatline. They're very high and very low. They don't change much, but sometimes your other teammates need to see a little more life, and I think that's a big part of why we've struggled in some of these games.
Brad, what was the mood like on the bench at the end, especially, they get it to 8, you get it back down, they take it back up a little bit. And
well, obviously it was up and down. We looked like we were dead there for a while. The 1-3-1 was, it was the first time we played it all year, and it did what we needed to do is to change tempo and give a team a different look and kind of give us a little more life. And it gave us some life, got us back. We got a couple buckets out of stops, got us a little transition, but then they made some more plays, give them credit, and then we went to the 1-2-1-1 press and got a steal and a basket, and went back to the 1-3-1, got a stop, got another big basket to tie it, and then obviously momentum was on our side. And I just told our guys we really need to get the first basket in overtime, and we did. I think that's what really propelled us to it.
Coach, each player said that you really challenged them this week.
We talked a lot about it's, as a coach, you coach technique, you know, and you coach toughness. We've probably coached technique too much and need to start coaching toughness more. And maybe I've taken that for granted a little bit because I have some older guys and actually have some guys that have reasonable toughness. But we haven't been very tough in the way we've played, both physically or mentally, to date in this season. We've only had patches of play where we've been tough. And so we talked about playing with energy and effort all week and really tried to praise it when we saw it. And we were critical of guys when we didn't see it. And we had very spirited practices for the last 3 or 4 days. And I just knew that our guys were going to play well. I told them before the game, we're going to play well today. As long as we maintain our energy and effort, I think we'll have a great chance to win.
What do you think about Jerron's performance? Seemed like there were some highs and lows.
You know, he's a guy who's almost the opposite of our other team. He's the one guy on our team that really has a high motor and outgoing personality, and you know, he's that way. He's more like KJ in a lot of ways. But his basketball skill set is what we're working on. You know, he had 6 turnovers tonight, and some of them, you know, he's got to be able to make those plays. We get him the ball and he beats a guy and he's got a drop-off pass. You just got to be able to make it because it's a layup, and it ends up being a steal for them and it goes the other way. You know, that's going to come. You need that kind of energy in life, though, from players on your team. I think that's why he's a very likable player. As a fan, you come to the game and you see a kid who's athletic and playing hard. It's like Qualls for Arkansas. I mean, the guy's all over the place. JB's like that for us. And so we got to coach the other part of it for him, but at the same time, we don't really have to coach effort with him very often.
Coach, this is kind of an appropriate time when you get a big win that confirms you. I would think one of the difficulties, the trials of a coaching staff, is if you get off to a bit of a slow start, and there's a temptation to panic because maybe you're not as good as you thought, and now you have to improve while you're preparing day to day.
Correct. And there is, and the hardest thing, you know, with basketball, you know, we play 30 games, and all you got to do is look at college basketball every day. And I had a bunch of people text me yesterday trying to make me feel better. NJIT beat Michigan, and North Florida beat Purdue, and I can't remember, there's 3 or 4 other ones. Upstate beat Georgia Tech, and I mean, it's happening more and more in college basketball because I don't think the difference is as great. And I think the kids play against each other so much more in AAU, and so these upsets happen, if you want to call them upsets. And when you're playing 5 or 6 games like that and playing 30 games, I also think kids a little bit are numb to losing. I really believe that kids are a little numb to losing because of AAU. We play so many games as an AAU player, and you lose a lot in AAU, but you always have another game. You play at 9, if you win, you play at 2, and if you lose, you play at 1. You know, then if you win, you play at 7, if you lose, you play at 8. It's like you just keep getting to play. Like at the park, when I was growing up, you lost, you sat for 3 games. So you didn't like losing. You might go to the park and only get to play 1 game. And so I do think kids these days are more prone to like not be as bothered by losing and not be quite as ready all the time. And I think that's part of the reason why there's this many games that are being upset or looked at as upsets. And as a coach, you're constantly trying to figure the mentality of your team. Where's your team? And try to get them back in the right frame of mind. And hopefully you do it better than you don't.
Down by 6 with a minute left, what was the mentality, the conversation like over on your side?
Going to our press, obviously we're going to be aggressive. We're going for the steals, so we're you know, if we give up a layup, we'll take it. But we're trying to trap and steal the ball for the first 2 traps, and then if it happens, then we'll foul. We need to foul, but we're immediately gambling. And if we get this first steal, you know, quickly thereafter, if we get a basket out of it, we're going to go right back into 1 in our 1-3-1. And when it's a 1-possession game, we're going to see if they can handle the 1-3-1 with a 1-possession game, and we got the turnover and miss there, and just go attack. And you know, this time it worked.
Were you a little surprised that they fouled Rod there with like
I
minute
think
15?
It looked like a mistake. I think, you know, looking at coach on their part, you know, we've done it this year already. It's hard. Kids, you know, JB intentionally fouled a guy, grabbing a guy, like just. It just, you know, kids are kids, and playing in games like this, they get excited too and do things that, you know, you don't want them to do. And I think that was one time when I could tell from looking at coach that he didn't want that.
How important is it to have a second straight week to just be able to focus on yourselves?
You know what it is? It's a good question, because this week, and I said this a while back, we haven't had a lot of practice time. we've played so many games with the Paradise Jam that it's hard to really, and then you have a day before a game, so you don't want to go quite as hard, and the day after the game, and you just haven't had, you know, where you need 3 days in a row where you can really try to change some habits and get into things. I think that's really good. Now, this week's a little bit difficult because we got finals, so we're going to have to, a couple days here where we get our academics in order, do the right thing there, get into some individuals, which can be good, where we work on skill work and get shots up and do the things to make guys individually better, and then have about 3 good days leading into Auburn.
I know you want to take it one game at a time, but this is a critical stretch where you could kind of define this non-conference part of the season. Starting off with a win into these 2 games, maybe looking at it afterwards, that in the next couple of weeks, you might be able to answer this better, but kind of springboard effect for your team.
You know, it's hard. You know, I was really disappointed with the Rutgers game. I mean, it really bothered me. And I told our team, like, you don't for a second, like, forget about the power and momentum of winning. Like, we had a couple wins in a row. You know, we had a chance to keep it rolling with a good win against Rutgers, a big game against Arkansas. Like, you can build something, get something going in the right direction, and we just kind of let it get all the way with the Rutgers loss. And that really bothers me. And you know, I let our team know that how big a loss that really was. That's you just don't understand how big, and it's hard to win a couple of games in a row and get it going again in the right direction, and especially when you play good teams. And you know, these are hard games to schedule. To get Arkansas in here, a top 20 team, you know, Arizona a couple of years ago, like these are hard games to schedule. Like, it's not easy to get these games, and you know, that's why I want our fans to appreciate those, and I want our players to appreciate the demands that go into getting these games. You have to be a little lucky and to get somebody to agree to it. It has to work out. They have to be good. You know, these are big games. This was a big game today because of the nature of who we were playing, and